Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel, the cozy corner on the internet where you can find all things books. And I'm so excited about today's video because I'm so excited for 2025 and for these books. Today we're going to talk about my 5-star predictions and most anticipated releases of 2025. This type of video just makes me so happy because I always get so excited when new books come out, especially if they're ones that are part of a series that I'm currently reading, or if they're by authors I've enjoyed previously. And I feel like in 2025 there's going to be some great books coming out. I really had a difficult time to narrow these books down to 5 because I'm doing just 5-star predictions because I wanted it to be like 5 stars, and also I wanted to talk a little bit about these books and I didn't want the video to be endless. But there are definitely many more and I am very excited about all of these releases. The first book that is coming out in January, and I had to start it off with this one, is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the third part of the Empyrean series, so it follows Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, if you haven't read these. These are books about dragon riders and a dragon rider war college, and if you become a rider you also gain some magic abilities. I have read this series and I have loved it so much. I've had the best time talking about this series with my friends who've also read this, and I'm just really excited about this aspect as well, about the community aspect as well as the actual book. And I'm particularly excited because the second book of the series left off at a huge, massive cliffhanger, and I really want to know what happens, and there are so many theories going around, and I'm thinking of maybe making a video just about Fourth Wing so I can really dive deeper into the first 2 books in the series and talk a little bit about them. And yeah, I'm just really excited for this one, and it's coming so soon. Oh my god. It felt like forever waiting for this. And if you've ever read a series where the next book isn't published yet, then you know what that feels like, especially if it's a cliffhanger. And there are high stakes in this cliffhanger. It's not just like a regular cliffhanger where you can see where it's going, but this cliffhanger is going to determine where the whole series is going and also where the romance is going, because it's a romantasy series, and yeah, we all really want to know what happens to the 2 main characters. And it's not just even this one part that is the main focus of what you want to know, but there's also other stuff about dragons and the war and just everything. And I'm just so excited. I have to stop talking about these books now. But I'm definitely going to expect this to be one of those I'm going to stay up all night to finish this new release type of book. And if you haven't read Fourth Wing yet, now would be a good time to start because you can still finish Fourth Wing and Iron Flame before Onyx Storm comes out. Or if you've already read them, you could also do a reread. Next up we have an author that I have just discovered recently, and that is Julie Soto. Her book Rose in Chains comes out in July of 2025. And I'm really excited because the book that I've read by her seems to be very different from the one that's coming out now. I've read Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto this year and I gave it 5 stars, and it was really amazing, but it was a musician romance, and this book that comes out now, Rose in Chains, is what it seems like more of a dark fantasy series or a dark fantasy book. This book follows Bryony Rosewood, whose world is turned upside down when her castle falls to enemy forces. She is captured, stripped of her magic, and then sold at an auction, only to end up in the hands of a bad boy with ties to the dark forces that conquered her people. So what it seems like also maybe enemies to lovers. And I really like the enemies to lovers dynamic in Not Another Love Song, so I feel like Julie Soto definitely has the potential to pull this off and to make this an exciting romance in a fantasy setting. And I'm really just excited to see how Julie Soto writes fantasy. And I feel like it could be a very interesting storyline of these two connecting, and especially because there's so much history there as it seems. I mean, it even says in the blurb that Bryony has had an infatuation with Tobin before. And I think this morally grey part of the romance could really make it interesting. And also the fantasy part of it seems intriguing because they have different powers. She has mind powers that she's stripped of, and he has heart powers, and I'm really excited to learn what that means and how he might use his powers against her, or if she will gain her powers back. And yeah, that's just a lot that sounds intriguing about this book, and I'm excited when it comes out in July. Next up we have Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. And Ashley Poston is an author that I've also only discovered this year. I've read 2 books by her. I've read The 7 Year Slip and Dead Romantics, and Sounds Like Love kind of reminds me a bit of Not Another Love Song, because we also have 2 musicians. We have Joni Lark, who is a songwriter who has completely lost her spark. She heads back to her hometown to recharge, but finds herself haunted by this melody and a mysterious, alluring voice in her head. And you kind of begin to question, is this real or is it not? Is this only in my head? And it turns out that it is, in fact, a real man. I just think that Ashley Poston has this great way of putting a dash of magic into her love stories, and it's not too much, so it's not really a fantasy with a romance plot in it, but more a romance with some fantasy elements in it, and I really enjoy that because the romance is still much more in the forefront than in romantasy, usually. And I also really like the idea of creative collaboration in romance novels, and especially about musicians working together and working on a piece of music. That is just something that, I don't know, I just really like it. And I like that a lot about Not Another Love Song. I like that about all of the books that I mentioned in my Rockstar Romance videos. And yeah, just that, plus the magical elements to it. I think I'm going to love this. Especially because creativity and songwriting is something so emotional and vulnerable, where you really have to open up to someone, and I just feel like there's going to be so many heartfelt moments in this that will be really swoon-worthy. And the next book kind of stands for a genre or a subgenre of books that I want to read more of in 2025, and that is vampires. I'm so excited that more vampire stories are coming back right now, and that vampire series and also vampire standalones are becoming more popular. And I definitely want to read more of these because I really enjoy vampire stories. And as kind of not like a placeholder, but more of a token of this subgenre, I wanted to put one on the list. And that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And this has a very cryptic description. It only says 3 places and 3 years, and then 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, one grows deep, and one grows wild. And all of them grow teeth. This book comes out in June 2025. And the only thing that I know about this otherwise is that it's supposedly a toxic lesbian vampire book, somehow also inspired by Florence and the Machine. And just hearing all of these words together in one sentence makes me want to read this so bad. I really can't wait. And I have just recently rediscovered Florence and the Machine, or not rediscovered, I've already listened to their music a lot, but I just found another album by them that I loved and therefore listened even more. And I really like the themes in their music and also the themes of womanhood in their music, and so I'm really excited about how much of this it's going to be transported in this book. But I also read my 2 first V.E. Schwab books in the very beginning of the year. I read Vicious and Vengeful, and having read these 2 books, I can so see this book having such great writing. And V. Schwab even said that they put so much of themselves into the book and they never wanted to do that again after writing The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue, which I still haven't read. But that, to me, is always also a good sign, because that means that the author has an emotional connection to the story and there's going to be very real parts in it. And honestly, what drew me in about this book at first was the cover, because this cover art is really, really beautiful, and as a typography nerd, I really approve of the font choice and the choice of color. And I'm really just excited to read more vampire stories in 2025, and especially sapphic vampire stories are something that I want to put on my reading list. And the fifth book on my list is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I really like Emily Henry as an author. I've given all of her books that I've read 4 or 5 stars. So this is an automatic sign for me to read her book that comes out in April. And I have to say that the premise of this book is not something that particularly interests me or intrigues me that much. But I'm still going to give it a chance because it's Emily Henry and I just like the writing style so much. It definitely sounds like a very ambitious story to try to write, so I'm curious to see what she will do with it. The story follows 2 writers, Alice and Hayden, who both want to write the biography of a woman with a very scandalous past. She is a reclusive heiress with a lot of stuff happening in her life, just so many plot twists and so many interesting stuff that you could write about, and therefore the competition between the 2 main characters is fierce. They both really want to write her biography, but, of course there's a but, the heiress doesn't give both of them the full details to her story. She just gives each one of them a part of the story, and they also can't tell each other the missing parts because of an NDA that they had to sign. So they can't really share notes and they can't really work together, and there's also some chemistry building between the 2 of them. And I'm really interested to see how this kind of rivalry between the 2 of them is going to play out in the book. I hope that the mystery part about this heiress and her life is very interesting, because I think that is a very vital part of the story that could make it very boring or very exciting. So I'm choosing to believe in Emily Henry and will definitely be reading this book. And that's why I think this one is going to be one of my 5-star reads. So there you have it, my most anticipated releases and 5-star predictions about these releases in 2025. What do you think? Are any of these books on your radar already, or do you have totally different books that you're looking forward to? I mean, I didn't include any literary fiction in this list, so there's also going to be some great releases the next year as well. And yeah, please share which ones you are excited for, and if I have missed any that I should definitely be putting on my list. I'm usually not that great with reading new releases because I mostly pick books up from a library and my audiobook app, and most of the books don't appear there that quickly, but I'm still trying to stay up to date. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm so excited to read which books you are looking forward to read in 2025. I will see you in my next video tomorrow. Bye!